And if you have RAD TV, I wish we had smell-o-vision because the Shelby Elias has come in and is in the studio and he smells fabulous. Hello,
Always.
Shelby.
Good morning.
Always smells so good.
FinanceWithShelby.com is the website, and Shelby is the man. We got this email here to rad@radradio.com from Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Says, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Shelby. There's a plot twist, though. We didn't use Shelby or his company. Just from his presence on the show, I was able to confidently and wisely talk my wife into a remodel. I used his knowledge and smart talking to get it done. We're a week and a half into the remodel, and it's going to be a totally gnarly pad when it's done. Thanks again, Shelby.
Aw.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And you can't use me to remodel, but you could use me to refinance
Yes.
or purchase.
That's right. Before we get into that, I do have this email as well from Tyler.
Hey, Tyler.
He says, my wife and I refinanced with Shelby in 2021 and were able to lock in a 15-year loan at a 1.9% interest rate.
Amazing.
We are now interested in pursuing a HELOC to consolidate some additional debt that was not included when we refinanced, like student loans, credit cards, etc. Our current issue is our debt-to-income ratio. What would be the best plan of attack to qualify for a HELOC? Our DTI seems to keep preventing us from getting this to happen.
Well, number one, you got to call me, right? So we do have a product that's an automated approval. It syncs with your bank statements. And so sometimes when people can't qualify through a traditional product, this automated product will actually give them an approval.
Nice.
What's a HELOC to remind everybody?
A HELOC is a home equity line of credit. So it's in second lien position. It does not affect your first mortgage. So that's the beauty of it.
Oh.
So what you want to use a home equity line of credit to do is to pay off any high interest credit cards. Essentially, you could do anything with it. But the smartest things to do would be to consolidate your debt, remodel your home to add value to it. But it's in second lien position, doesn't affect the first mortgage. A lot of them have an interest-only option, and it just gives you access to the cash that you have in your home.
Nice. And when they say DTI, it's the debt to income.
Yeah,
Just
debt
in case
compared
someone was
to your
like, what
income.
was that? Yeah.
Correct.
So refinancing. Why is now the perfect time to buy?
So, I mean, all of the economists right now say that the housing market is strong. Over the last couple weeks, we've seen things really calm down with the tariffs, which has helped mortgage rates. So mortgage rates are trending downward. But when you want to think about refinancing, I know a lot of people on the show are first-time home buyers, right? Maybe they haven't refinanced yet.
Hi.
And what you want to look for when refinancing, here are the people that should look at it, is anybody who got into their mortgage in the past 2 years. And when you refinance, it's not like a purchase where you actually have to bring in money to close. You're utilizing the equity in your home to cover any of the costs to refinance. So really what you want to do is, let's say you bought a home, 2 years ago and the rate's 6.5. Then you want to look into it now because rates are lower than that. And when you refinance, you're going to get a lower interest rate. That's going to translate to a lower monthly payment. And there's no one size fits all. I know a lot of people try to put it into the bucket of, well, I don't want to refinance unless I could save at least 1%, right? That's kind of a term that floats around there. And that's not the same because everyone has a different loan amount. Somebody that has a $300,000 loan amount, maybe they might want to refinance after they could save a full percent of their mortgage. But if somebody has a $500,000 loan amount or a $700,000 loan amount, they could save like $350 per month just with a half of a point decrease.
Wow.
So it's important that you want to look into that. And those are the people that really should be looking into it. Is anybody who got either an FHA loan, VA, or a conventional mortgage in the past 2 years.
Now, it's important right now if you do refinance, just even by 0.5%, because I was hearing that you touched on a little bit too, that the economy is a little shaky and we're not sure exactly what's going to happen in the future. And you said that the rates are trending downwards, but I mean, with everything going on, it could spike back up again, right?
That's what we've seen in the last couple of years. It goes up and down and back up and down. So, and everybody's position's different too. Some people might look at refinancing and go, oh, I'm only going to save $150 a month. Maybe I'll wait. That I can't really use those funds. It doesn't really matter. Okay, that's one type of person. There's another type of person that's like every dollar counts. And if this isn't going to cost me any money out of pocket to do it, then I would love the opportunity to save $150, $300, $400, $500 a month.
Jeez.
And then another thing too is it gives you a chance to reset. So what you can do when you do refinance is you can skip up to 2 payments.
Jeez.
That,
Oh my
and you
God.
can get a little bit of cash back. So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that alone can really save some people. So you don't just want to analyze it based on where are current interest rates at or how much am I saving. It's let's break it down. If you're the type of person that, maybe you're not too into saving $150, that doesn't really matter to you, then let's talk about the strategy around that. Where do we need to get? What is your target rate? And then I can set up some triggers around that and say, okay, when it hits here, that's when we're going to give you a call. But then there's another person that's like, man, just the opportunity to skip a couple months of payment
Right.
would
Yeah.
save my life.
Right
Yes.
That's why we want to check it out.
We got this email to rad@radradio.com from Jessica.
Hey, Jessica.
She says, I have a question for Shelby. With Trump in office now for 100 days and with what he's been doing, what's going to happen to house prices? I'm finally hired on directly with a company and have a little over $5,000 saved. I want to see about getting my first home to finally have a safe place for my kids and I.
Aw.
Is it going to be a good time to buy soon? And what new and, if any, programs would help?
All right. Well, I'll touch on the Trump piece first. Obviously, Trump is a real estate guy, right? He knows the value of pumping up that real estate market more than anybody on the planet. So I would find a lot of confidence in that. Now, here's the opportunity of waiting is if you wait and interest rates fall, then home prices go up. And that is not good for a first-time home buyer. They don't want to have to pay over. They don't want to have to pay their closing costs. It's already hard enough to save up for the down payment, right?
Yeah.
On a conventional loan, it's 3% down, okay? On an FHA loan, it's 3.5% down. On a VA loan, it's no money down, okay? So they have to save up that down payment. In a market like right now, where the opportunity lies, is going and negotiating with a seller, right? The seller, if a property's been on the market for 15, 20 days, they start to get nervous. When they get nervous and they have no offers, you write them a little bit lower offer. Or you say, hey, you cover all of my closing costs. That's a massive opportunity for a buyer. When the rates go down and the market heats up, that goes away. Now you have to pay the whole down payment and the closing costs. And the closing costs sometimes can be anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 more.
Damn. Yeah.
So that's where the opportunity lies. Now, here's a piece, because I get that question all the time. Should I buy right now, right? Like, is it smart to buy right now? Well, here's how you have to look at that. For one, this is a shelter for your family, and there's no better place to be able to put your investment into than real estate, because your investment is not determined based on how much that you put into the house. So let's say you buy a $400,000 house. That's a $12,000 down payment. So you have $12,000 invested. If that $400,000 house goes up 10%, it's not based on the 12 grand that you put in. It's based on the 400.
Yeah.
That's how you can get so wealthy in real estate.
Yeah.
So that being said, is a great factor. But the other thing that you want to consider is, can you afford the payment? So really, it's reaching out to me. Let's go over what the monthly payment looks like. And your monthly payment is fixed. And it's fixed for 30 years until your loan's paid off.
Nice.
Your income will continue to grow. So you have to go to sleep with that payment. You have to make the payment. You got to work to afford the payment. It's all into the payment. That's how you analyze that.
Well, there's so many people that'll tell me how much they're paying in rent, and it's a mortgage.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on where you live, right? And so it's like, I know there is that scariness to where it's a house, you own it, where like if for some reason you can't afford what you're renting, you can just find somewhere else, no harm, no foul, you just move there. But with the way rent is, most likely where you're going to go is also going to be high rent. So if you're working so hard to pay your rent, you can work that hard to pay the same, but it's in a mortgage.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that, right? I just always look at, when I talk to like my grandparents or anyone that's older, it's always this saying of when's the right time? They're like, but people have always been buying regardless of the time.
Yeah.
And it's almost like now, I don't know if this is true, but I'm like, it's almost like we got into this thing where we want to buy, we know it's an investment, and that's the only reason, where it used to be, I'm buying this because it's my home.
Mm-hmm.
It's my home. It's my forever home. I'm not really looking at it like, am I going to make money off it someday?
Yeah.
You're just like, this is where I'm going to live. So I wonder sometimes if that keeps people where they're like, is it the right time or not? Because is this a good investment? I mean, for your home and for it to be a forever home, that's priceless.
If your equity
Yeah.
position goes down, what does it matter? You don't get to get any of the equity out of it until you sell.
Exactly.
Here's some interesting facts, though. So 5 million people bought a home last year, okay? So that's a lot of people,
Yes.
right? Another thing is your rent payment will always go up. Your mortgage is fixed. That's comforting. Your income will rise, okay? Now, another thing to consider, too, is what is the interest rate? Because people are always concerned about the rates. What are rates? What's the interest rate on rent?
There
It's
isn't one.
100%.
Yes. Yes.
Come on.
Oh,
It's
man.
100%.
Yes.
People also don't consider that when you're making your payment, you're paying down principal. It's like, oh, that's more than I'm renting. Yeah, because you're paying down your loan.
Yep.
So there's a lot of good factors there. But I think the takeaway is that when you're buying, you just analyze the payment. Is the payment comfortable? And do I want to live there? And that's it.
Phone number is 888-989-9011. You can email us, rad@radradio.com. We're talking with Shelby Elias from financewithshelby.com. What's the segment three? What's the 3-2-1 buy down?
Ooh, okay. So this goes hand in hand. So a 3-2-1 buy down is used in this market, right? Nobody's really heard of this because this didn't exist before. So here's the strategy. So if you're buying a home, you go after the seller that has maybe been listing for 15 to 30 days, has no offers, right? You go in, you write an offer, and you say, I want a closing cost credit of $20,000, okay? That could totally happen, right? Hey, I'll give you full asking price, but I want $20,000 off. So what the 3-2-1 strategy analyzes is in year one, right? Let's say your interest rate right now is, let's just say a 6%, okay? 6% start rate. Your first year, your rate is actually a, 3 points lower. So you have a 3% start rate. For the whole first year, your rate's only 3.
That's
my
not
God.
bad.
You
All
could
The
save
second
some money.
year, it's a 4, and the third year, it's a 5, and then everything after that goes back to the 6.
Okay, so you ease your way into it.
You ease your way into it, but what's a little easier to understand because you don't know, well, what does that put my payment at?
Right.
Let's go $20,000 credit, and let's say you only need to save money for the first 2 years. So that's 24 months. So if you took 20,000 by 24 months, the first 24 months, you're going to save yourself $833 a month off of your
Damn.
payment
Oh
for
my
2
gosh.
years.
Wow.
So it's not a solve like forever, but if you're looking at it like, man, that'd be really nice to be able to buy a house,
Wow.
not even have to pay for it. The seller is giving you the money to save you $833 a month.
Yeah.
So it's a great strategy. I just helped a client, a RAD listener, the other day. Not only did he get, so he put 3.5% down on an FHA loan. Then he got a credit for all of his closing costs from the seller.
Nice.
And then he got the 3-2-1 buy down from the seller.
Oh, yeah.
So that doesn't exist when the housing market is so hot and people are bidding for homes.
So with the 3-2-1 buy down, once you get into the higher interest rate on your mortgage, how long can you wait to refinance? Is there a wait limit, or can you do it after a year?
It's 6 months.
Oh, it's 6 months. Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
6
even
months
with
to
that.
refi. So that's a
Nice.
part of the strategy is, well, if that gives you a 2-year runway to be able to refinance. Now, again, we're looking at the total payment and analyzing, is this comfortable for you?
Yeah.
But you get the break for the next 2 years, and we're going to be analyzing rates to try to lock you in on a lower rate in that time period.
It's still so crazy when you say 6 or 6.5% because that is like a lot now. But there was a time that was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I got 5% or 6%, you know?
Yeah.
So I still try to compute. Oh, yeah, that's right. This is bad now, the 6%.
know.
Yeah.
it's not that bad.
No, but I mean, you know, because people got
Comparatively.
so used
Sure.
to the 1, 2, the 3. Yeah.
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 Phone number is 888-989-9011. Good morning, Al.
Hey, thanks, guys. Shelby, just really quick, thanks for giving me a good advice on investment properties around Sutter Health for the A's. But my question is, I was wondering if a parent could co-sign on a VA loan for an active duty member, specifically our son, who's 19 years old and looking to potentially buy his own house.
Unfortunately, with a VA loan, only your spouse can be on that loan and help you qualify. But it does bring up a really good topic, because a lot of people don't know that you can add a cosigner. You could add multiple cosigners to help somebody qualify for a mortgage.
Oh,
Nice.
And they can still keep their first-time home buyer. So if you have, a son or a daughter that you're like, hey, you know what? I want to help them into their first house, then they can put 3% down. They actually don't even need a job. They don't even need a job.
Oh, my Lord.
So, great strategy around that is, hey, my son or daughter is going to go to college, and I don't want to pay for the dorms. I'd rather just have them rent out the rooms.
Oh, geez.
Okay, so
Smart.
now I'm going to get a property with them on, a conventional mortgage, first-time home buyer product. They put 3% down. I'll co-sign with them. Oh, well, you still don't make enough. Okay, well, then my dad will co-sign with them. Perfect. Now you qualify.
Yeah.
All right. Boom. Now you can buy that property, put 3% down. Your son is going to be the primary person that lives in the home, so it's a primary residence. And then you can rent out all the rooms and pay for the whole mortgage.
Nice.
So speaking of renting out rooms, what's the STR tax loophole, and how do Airbnb owners saving big time on taxes there?
Massive. So there's a loophole there for Airbnb. It used to be only for what's called a qualified real estate professional. They can depreciate the property, the entire property, in year one, right? So you can depreciate the property in year one. It's called accelerated depreciation. It's only for a qualified real estate professional that spends more than 100 hours on his real estate portfolio. Well, with this birth of short-term rentals, it created a tax strategy behind being able to prove that even if you only own one house, that could take over 100 hours if you self-manage it. So what the loophole is if you buy a property as a short-term rental, you can prove that you self-manage it, you spend over 100 hours, that property, you can now use accelerated depreciation on that. So a great example is, we all know a contractor that owns a construction business, or maybe even just works in a construction, company or whatever. And he drives an awesome truck. And you're like, man, you really make enough to drive a $120,000 pickup?
Oh.
The reason why is because he could depreciate the entire vehicle because it's a company vehicle,
Gotcha.
right?
Yeah.
So you can depreciate it. Depreciation is your very best write-off, but most people can't use depreciation because they don't own their own business.
Yeah.
So, but here's the loophole. If you buy a house that's an investment property, you now can prove that you spend over 100 hours managing this Airbnb. It's got to be an Airbnb. Then now you could depreciate the entire cost of the home.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, when you
Wow.
use that depreciation write-off, here's something else that's amazing, is if you're a W-2 income earner, let's say you make $200,000, $300,000, and you're like, man, I'm getting crushed in taxes. If you buy that Airbnb property, you use that strategy, you do the cost segregation, that humongous number, because you're depreciating an entire house, it comes off of your earned income.
Whoa.
So all that money, you're getting taxed with your W-2. You have no choice. You can't write it off.
Dang.
The government's just taking it right out of your paycheck. Then you write this massive write-off, and now instead of paying the IRS that, you get that refund back.
Oh.
And that will essentially pay for the down payment on that house. So instead of
Dang.
paying the IRS and getting nothing for it,
Yeah.
you can actually buy an asset with that money that you would have normally paid the IRS.
Gosh, people that have had an Airbnb for a while, they're like, finally.
And when you say you manage it for 100 hours, it's 100 plus hours per year. So you're just like answering messages and fixing stuff, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, you're-
simple as that.
Exactly. You're coordinating, you're, traveling, you're marketing it, you're answering the messages.
That's a business.
That's awesome. So Laura wrote in and she says, I bought a condo in January of 23. I did a no down payment loan. You just mentioned it would be a good time to do a refinance. I understand I would have to pay that loan first, but I am desperate to reduce my monthly payment. Is it realistic to think I can refinance and accomplish both?
Yes. So with a FHA loan or a VA loan, there's a streamline option that you can streamline your rate down, and it doesn't take into consideration your equity position. So even if you don't have any equity in your house, you can streamline that down to the lower interest rate. So FHA and VA mortgages, you definitely want to check into the streamline option.
We're talking with Shelby Elias from financewithshelby.com. You can email rad@radradio.com or call us 888-989-9811. Let's talk HELOC strategy and keeping your low rate home and buy another.
Mm-hmm. So with the home equity line, so really where the strategy comes into play is people that want to purchase another home, but they don't have the down payment to do so, or they're worried about the increased payment. So what I break down with my clients is I look at their current home and their current mortgage. The last one that I just did, the guy owed like $350,000. I think his payment was like $1,900 a month. I said, how much can you rent that property for instead of selling it? Yeah. Because back in the day, that's what we were always taught. Sell your house.
Yes.
You put that money towards the next house to lower your monthly payment.
Yep, that's what I learned.
But the game's changed because people have rates like a 1.9. That's free money. You don't ever want to get rid of that.
Nope.
No way.
You don't want to get rid of that rate. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
those days are gone.
Those days are gone.
Yeah.
So what you can do is we analyzed it for him and we said, okay, how much money do I have access to? And we said, okay, you have $200,000 that you have access to. Okay. So for him, he was paying, $1,900 a month. That included taxes, insurance, everything. I said, well, how much could you rent your house out for? He's like, somewhere around like $3,200.
Yep.
Okay, great. So if you were to take out $200,000 for that house, the payment's probably going to be around like $2,000 more dollars. Well, now you're going to go a little bit negative on the rent versus your new payment because you have your first payment of $1,900 and then an additional $2,000. But instead of taking $200,000 out, let's take $150,000. Now his payment like balanced out. So now he gets the benefit of turning that property into a rental property, okay? Keeping it, which is going to grow massively over time. He has his equity gain. He has principal payment reduction when every time that renter pays that payment.
Yep.
He has the interest write-off not only for the first mortgage, but also for the home equity line.
Dang.
Nice.
The tenant is paying that entire amount for him. And then he has $150,000 to put down on the new mortgage that he's going to buy.
Wow.
So it's a great strategy. Oh, and then he also has the depreciation write-off that we just talked about on the rental property.
Oh, good God.
He can't accelerate the depreciation because it's not an Airbnb, but he still has the depreciation write-off. And then now he has two homes. So, oftentimes what I ask my clients, I say, okay, well, how much did you purchase this house for? How long has it been? And how much equity do you have right now? And then, it's usually a massive number. It's like, oh, man, I made $400,000 in the last 10 years. Holy cow, that's amazing.
Yes.
Imagine if you had two proproperties.
Ooh.
And one property
you
didn't even pay for. The tenant was paying the home equity line, and that would have been $800,000. That's life-changing money.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's great. Yeah, so
that's a
these
third
are some
house.
great strategies.
We got this email to rad@radradio.com from Nicole.
Hey, Nicole.
She says, thanks for all the fantastic information. I have a full-time, stable job, and I'm in college full-time. I'm a single parent and a first-time home buyer. Are there programs in addition to the first-time home buyers program that could help me get into a home? Also, if I remember right, once I buy, I should live there for 2 years prior to turning the home into a rental. Can you confirm and maybe expand on that a little?
Yes. So you want to live in the property for 2 years as your primary residence. If you do have the means or the want to sell, because you have to live in the property for 2 out of the last 5 years in order to not get taxed capital gain tax.
Okay?
So that's the strategy there is capital gains. You want to live in it for at least 2 years. That way, if you sell it, then you can, recoup that the money without paying capital gains. Now, if you just want to rent it, you're not worried about ever selling it in the future, and so you're not going to be worried about capital gains tax. Then you only have to live there for 1 year before turning it into a rental. So you only need to live in a primary residence for 1 year before you turn it into a rental. But it also kind of brings up another really good topic, and that's income wise. I was kind of getting lit up on circles where people are like, well, hey, you didn't give me the best advice because you told me my income needed to go up. Well, there's nothing we can do about income. There's no way to solve that problem. It's if your income really in California right now, if it's below 80 grand, it's going to be really hard. There's no first time home buyer program that's going to save you in that aspect.
Yeah.
So really your option is you have to go out and find somebody else to invest with you, right? Because even a cosigner is not going to help you make the payment.
Yeah.
If you're making 50, 60 grand a year, your payment's going to be out of reach. It's going to be too high.
Yep.
So what you have to do is you have to find somebody else in your same position and go in on a house together.
Oh.
So you're like, hey, you make 60,000, I make 60,000. Do you want to live together for a year? Like, dude, we should buy a house together.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
That's a great strategy,
Not
right?
bad at all.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, can you be married and do that if you are both a first-time home buyer as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
you
So the
you know,
marriage doesn't
their
do anything.
income and the other person's income, perfect.
Got it.
But a lot of the questions that I get are surrounded around like, well, I make 60 grand a year. Is there a first-time homebuyer program that will help me make the payment? No, that does not exist. So your option would be, I got to find somebody else to invest with me in this home, and they have to help me make the mortgage payment.
We got, we got this email to rad@radradio.com from Mark.
Hey, Mark.
It says, I want to have a rental but don't want to manage it. Are there options to own a rental but not, quote, deal with it?
Yeah, property managers.
There you go. How easy is that to find?
It's pretty easy, but here's something that I would recommend is a property manager is not going to make the payment if your renter stops paying, right? So you don't want to lean all the way in on the property manager. When they vet people out, their job is just to find a renter as soon as possible. So I always analyze their tax returns, their bank statements. I get a good feel for where they work. If I have somebody that, maybe has been at their job for a year, it looks like they kind of bounce around. They don't really have that much money in their bank account. And, you always get that anxious feeling like, man, I just want to rent this out as fast as possible. I don't really have anybody else or whatever. And you're like, okay, let's just rent to them. No, that's a red flag.
Okay.
You wait until you get more people. Now, if the guy's like, oh, I work at the sheriff's department, or a rental that I have that's going up right now is the guy said, oh, they were a nurse. Like, oh, yeah, you're a nurse. Oh, well, that's great.
Yes,
Like,
right.
perfect.
Yeah.
So, that your longevity of your job is in a secure place. And now I feel comfortable. So when you do choose the property manager, they're going to bring you the prospects. You have to ultimately approve them. And so look at those variables and find who you are comfortable renting to.
Like, don't trust the management company.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they charge a very low fee. It's not much, maybe a couple $100 a month.
Oh, okay, cool.
Talking with Shelby Elias from financewithshelby.com. You can email rad@radradio.com like Andrew did. This is Trashman Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
He says, I just bought a house the last couple of months, $500K roughly. But my questions are, when can I refinance and when would be a good time to start looking into investing into a rental property?
Yeah. So there's no right or wrong, reason of when. It all depends on what your interest rate is, right? And what type of loan program that you got into. If you got into an FHA loan, you can't refinance for 6 months. A conventional loan, you could refinance faster. So we just need to analyze what is your current interest rate compared to where rates are now, break the savings down, break down the benefits. And then in terms of buying a rental property, the best strategy to buy rental properties, and this is great for the younger listeners, is the best strategy is to buy a house as a primary residence. You put 3% down, you live in it for a year, you turn that property into a rental, then you turn around and you turn that one into the rental. You move, buy another primary. Now you only have to put 5% down. If you do the opposite, you buy a primary, then you buy the investment property. Now you have to put 20% down.
Ooh, okay, big difference.
Massive. $500,000 house costs you $100,000. That's why people don't own rentals.
Oh, dear Lord.
Use the other strategy, put 3% down on the first house, 5% down on the second house, 5% down on the third house.
Jeez,
You get a lot more homes.
Oh,
Heck
yeah.
We also got this email from A. Kyle.
Hi.
Says, question for Shelby. How do you feel about rent control as a landlord? The state I live in just passed the law for rent control where you can't raise rent more than 7% a year.
Mm-hmm. So if you think about it, if you're raising rent 7% per year, that's kind of a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like, geez.
Yeah.
The rent controls put into place for the people who mismanage their rental properties. Let's say you owned a place downtown Sacramento and, you know, you're renting a unit out for $800. It was super passive for you. It's easy to rent them out. And you just let it go for 20 years and your tenants live there for 20 years. And then you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, rents are $3,000 a month now.
Oh, boy.
What am I doing? It's to prevent you from just kicking everybody out.
Oh,
So
good.
that
Yeah.
guy who mismanaged his rental property can't charge somebody $800 all the way to $3,000. So he can
That's
just up
good.
it 7% per year to get it back to where the standards are. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about it as a landlord that's looking to buy. It just manage your property and charge the 7% increase or 5 or whatever. Where you get in trouble is if you just don't look at it and, you know, rents have gone up a ton and now
Yeah.
you want to catch it up.
And that's on the person that owns it.
Yeah,
that they
right.
mismanaged. The poor renter shouldn't have to pay that price.
We got this email from Josh.
Hey, Josh.
Says, me and my wife are currently trying to buy our house we've been renting, but it seems I'm struggling with our lender, and I was just curious if it's my ignorance or the lender's unwillingness, maybe. My score sucks right at about 600. My wife's is in the high 600s. Our debt to income is 0. We make good money. From everything I've seen, we should be able to get a loan with these scores, but the lender almost refuses to do anything until my score gets higher, which is becoming a problem since our lease ends in about a month. Any help is appreciated.
Yeah. So what we do is I actually coach you on how to get your score up. Rob talks about this a lot. Is I told him exactly what to pay down. So we can do what's called a rapid rescore. If your score's a 600 and that won't qualify, then what we do is we say, pay this card down by this much money, pay that card down by this much money, pay this one down by this much money. Now your score will be this. Now, that works really good if somebody has a 600. If somebody has like a 520 or 550, you can't, like, there's some damage there that's deep, and you have to go to a credit repair company to be able to do that. But somebody that's a 600, it's, hey, pay this one down. We get your score up. We work together to do that. Now, these companies like Quicken Loans or Rocket Mortgage and you know, they work in call centers, right? Everybody is just a lead. So you really, that's why it's so important to work with somebody that has a reputation, right? This is a very big decision. And, you know, this poor guy's, he's going to get kicked out of his house soon. He's got to figure this out.
Yeah.
And so when you're dealing with somebody that just works in like this lead channel and, you know, they're not going to spend the time actually helping you out, it's really tough, you know, and they're just like, it's on to the next number.
Right.
you know?
They're there for you when the score's good.
Yeah, they're like, here, come back to me.
You figure it out. Yeah, come back
Yeah.
later.
So they should call you, right?
Yeah.
FinanceWithShelby.com. We got this email to rad@radradio.com from Maureen.
Hey, Maureen.
She says, my parents are going to put their house in a trust. It will be left to me. I wanted to purchase or take over their home. However, I started a new job and need to get my finances in order. Will it being put in a trust prevent me from doing this within the next year? If left in the trust and my parents pass, am I able to access equity if I need it for home repairs? Thank you for your help.
Yes. So there won't, if your parents pass and you're the executor of the trust, the mortgage company's not going to reach out to you and say, hey, you have to refinance and pay this, you know, off. You just would continue to make your monthly payments and everything's all good. If you want to access cash, the only way to access the cash is to either do a home equity line of credit or a cash out refinance. Now, in order to do that, they're going to analyze your income and make sure that you qualify. So she would have to get her finances in order to access the cash.
All right, we got this email to rad@radradio.com from Brandon.
Hey, Brandon.
He says, I wanted to give a huge shout out to Shelby and his team. They helped me with a very unique purchase and walked me through the process the whole way. When he talks about having a strategy, they will help you come up with one. Shelby and his team were easily accessible and always keeping me updated. Thanks to them, we're scheduled to close today.
Yay!
And
Oh
I
my
could not
gosh.
be happier. Any questions you have, Shelby will walk you through it.
Oh,
I know,
that's so
I know
nice.
exactly who Brandon is. He is really good dude, and he put himself in a great position with this buy. This was a very unique situation. I've actually never dealt with this ever,
Wow.
which is rare.
Yeah,
right?
what was
I mean,
that like?
Thousands of loans
Yeah,
later.
That was a great challenge, I'm sure.
It was,
Yeah.
and it was probably about a 4-month process to figure every single thing out.
Oh my God, but you
Multiple homes on a
did.
parcel, homes not reporting on credit, and man, it was a lot. And we made it all the way through, and it's going to put him in such a great position.
Oh,
yeah.
A lot of the ones that I do get recently, though, are I want to purchase the home from my landlord. I want to purchase the home from my parents or grandparents. And there's a lot of really great strategies around that. And you can use things called a gift of equity, which is phenomenal because that puts you in a position to where you don't even have to come up with any money.
Whoa.
They're going to gift you equity out of the sale of their home to provide you with the money for the down payment. So you can get a gift of the equity and your closing costs covered from your family member, which will really help.
I am kicking myself in the rear because my grandparents just recently sold their 100-plus-year-old house. It's a cottage home in downtown Sacramento. And they just got to the point where they just couldn't manage it themselves, so they live in like an assisted living home. They're not like that far gone, so they like have their own apartment. They could do their own
And a
thing.
lot of those places are nice.
They're very
Assisted
nice,
living,
yeah.
you're like,
It's a-
hey, can we live here?
It's a great little apartment, but it broke my grandpa's heart to have to sell this home because he put 30 plus years into it, remodeling it, managing it,
The memories.
the memories
Yeah.
and the gardening that he did there. Like he loved the gardening and I was
Yes.
not in a position to buy. Had I heard this very segment or listened to Shelby, maybe months ago, I should have been like, I should have called you, man, because like what you just said probably could have put me in a position where I could have acquired that house and kept it in the family. But that thing
yeah.
sold like that. It
I'm
was just,
sure.
but it was
Yeah.
a beautiful home and damn it.
So learn from Brandon. Call Shelby.
Yes, call him now. And then call your grandparents.
Right, yes.
We also got this email to rad@radradio.com from Eric.
Hi, Eric.
My wife and I are in a predicament. So my father-in-law wants to sell his house. His house is paid off, and he is willing to sell it to us for $250,000. This house is easily over $400,000. So my wife and I want to know what would be the best route to go in order to obtain it. We currently own a home under the VA loan for a low interest rate and have lived there for 4 years. If we can get the house, we are planning on moving in and renting our current home. We want to do this in a way where we can avoid a down payment.
That was sent from God right there.
want it?
That's exactly what I was talking about, right?
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
So he's worried that he might have to make a down payment. He won't. The home is worth $400,000. He's getting the house for only $250,000. So there's equity there to gift.
Yep.
He's
Yeah.
just going to gift him the equity and gift him the down payment.
Oh, my gosh.
And he's going to come up with nothing. He's not going to come up with no closing costs, nothing.
Dear
He can
God.
even probably use the 3-2-1 buy down to make the payment even cheaper with a gift of equity as well. So not only does he get to keep his current house, rent that for a profit, but acquire the new house that has equity in it with no money down.
You just won the lottery, dude.
Yeah,
Crazy.
That's amazing.
the stars are aligning. It's a kismet for you, man. We
my
also got this
gosh.
from Adam.
Hi, Adam.
Says, Shelby, we have a 5-1 arm at 2% that adjusts in July 2026 to 4%. First, do you think rates will get to the 4s in 14 months to refi this loan, or should we let it adjust? And second, would getting a HELOC affect our ability to refi the first mortgage? We have about $750K in equity.
Jesus.
Getting the home equity line, unless it was a
right?
huge one, isn't going to affect that because he's in a great spot.
Yeah.
As far as the adjustable rate, it depends how low his rate is currently, right? Because if the rate's maybe 6% and he can get a 6%, it'd be a no-brainer to refinance into it. I don't think that rates are going to get down in the 4s. anytime soon. Hopefully they do one day, but I don't think that we're going there.
All right. Did we miss anything? Anything else you want to touch on?
No. Man, it's great. Felt great to be back. I'm
Yeah.
just so thankful for this Maggot family, and it's awesome.
Shelby Elias from financewithshelby.com. Also on Instagram at Shelby Elias, Elias. You always answering your DMs and always posting a lot of motivational stuff up there.
He's on Circles.
He's on Circles as well. Yes, he has his own little topic there in the Rad Maggot Army group chat, and you can get to that from going to radradio.com. Just click the banner. It'll get you the app installed. That's Circles with an S, and it will also get you joined up to the Maggot Army group chat, so you can communicate with Shelby himself.
I love it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's
You're
play
awesome.
Treble Trouble right now for a pair of tickets to see Yellow Wolf at the Grand Sierra Resorts Grand Theater on Friday, May 9th.
This is a band.
This is a rapper.
Oh,
Yes.
that's